Hello, everybody. Dave Neal here, stand-up comic host of Bachelor in Paradise, a guy's review. This past Tuesday, we watched the third episode of Bachelor in Paradise, Season 7. Riley, pictured right here, from Tayshia and Claire's season. The great Riley. And listen, I'm no great judge of character, but I've always liked Riley, so pat on my back there for that one. Riley came in and swooped into Bachelor in Paradise and met Maurissa. And Maurissa was previously dating Connor, and Marissa's like, I'm going to go see what this thing with Riley's all about. And Riley delivered. He's got the strength both in his biceps and in his heart to defend Maurissa after they did what may have been called the boom boom room. They bumped Harrison's, they slung spades, they may or may not have enjoyed each other's company, if you will, which is totally fine. They're consenting adults, right? But, of course, Maurissa got backlash. So we'll discuss that. People saying, oh my gosh, how can you find a loved one if you fornicate on the first night? And you know, there's the old saying, well, why give the cow if you the chocolate milk for free? Whatever the case may be. Listen. We live in a world where everyone makes decisions with their body, and they should have the ability to do that. They should have the ability to make their decisions, right? Pro-choice. But also, you know, if your decisions you make with your body may affect others. I'm also pro-vaccine. I think that it's good to do your research and trust science. That's a Pfizer promotion. It's FDA approved. All right, moving along, folks. Come on. What's this about? Listen, most of my audience, I think, is on similar viewpoints to a lot of issues. And people comment all the time and they go, Dave, I agree with you 99% of the time. Look, that's a good rate. I don't care if you agree with me 30% of the time. I'm going to share my opinion, but I'm also going to listen to yours. Leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think. Like this video if you haven't already, right? We're all here to talk. If you want extra content or just want to support me and my career, you can go to patreon.com/Dave Neal to do that. And we are going to jump right into the topic of slut shaming. But first, Friday and Saturday night, I have shows in Santa Monica and Hollywood. Santa Monica, Saturday night, 10 p.m. It's going to be a fun show. More information, just DM me on Instagram, and we'll let you know where you can get tickets. All right, so slut shaming, right? That's what the term's called. The action or fact of stigmatizing a woman for engaging in behavior judged to be promiscuous or sexually provocative. Of course, you know, we've all heard this before. Oh, why? When a guy does it, it's called cool. But, you know, we get it. We understand. But there's a lot of sort of microaggressions and things that we do that might be slut shaming. We might not even know it. So I'm not here to just bash people for having the wrong opinions on things. But social media does this kind of weird thing where it connects us to other people. And sometimes that means a lot of ignorant people have a platform. So we'll talk all about that. Now, Becca Kufrin had responded to this comment. Let's just zoom in here. Well, no wonder Maurissa has never had a date. Why buy the cow when you can get the milk for free? Geez, jumping into bed after only knowing Riley for a few hours? She definitely isn't there looking for a husband. No one wants to marry that. She needs to learn some self-respect. I love Abigail and Noah. Who would have thought? They made him such a villain, but he seems so sincere. Feel bad for Connor, but he dodged a bullet there. Okay, so she's going all over the place there. Becca Kufrin responds with this. I would think by 2021, we'd stop slut shaming. Why are you only casting this negativity on Maurissa? It takes two consenting adults to consensually tango. And by the looks of it, both Riley and Maurissa had a great tango. I added the cheers. I personally love this for them. Oh, and Maurissa, will you come on a date with me when you're in California? Because I could be so lucky. Kissy face. That is a perfect response. I will say this, though. People say, oh, I would think by 2021 we'd stop slut shaming. Listen, we live in a country that's very divided based off of so many socioeconomic things, like where we live, what region of the country, what region of the city, what region of the cul-de-sac. We are so divided by the education, the privilege of education, the privilege of having generational wealth, and so many different things that to say, oh, you'd think by 2021 we'd know better, that's a grandiose and very optimistic thought, but that's not exactly where we are. I'm going to share with you guys a fascinating article about slut shaming in the dorms and how it may be related to people's, generational wealth, really. We'll talk about that in a second. Here's Riley's response. Riley responded, by the way, 5:49 a.m. I'm looking at you, Riley. I see what you're up to. 5:49 a.m. I'm barely falling asleep at that hour. No, I get up early, but not that early. So here's Riley doing the dang thing, defending Maurissa, who may or may not still be with him, right? We don't know. For all we know, they could be engaged. They could be dating. They could be married. They could have kids on the way, maybe from the fantasy suite. When are we going to get a fantasy suite baby? We need a boom boom room baby. And I feel like if you conceive a child on Bachelor grounds, I mean, they got to pay for the college tuition, right? I feel like you get a Price Waterhouse, or what's it called? The Publishers Clearinghouse check, that big giant check they give to the golfers when they hit a hole-in-one. Riley hit a hole-in-one. All right, let's go into this.
Okay, so I've finally been able to read some of the comments that have been left on social media pages over the past few days. And of course, everybody's entitled to their opinion. That is what makes this great. That is why I keep my comment section open on my various social media pages. I love engaging with you all, but just know that I read some of them, and I did notice the blatant double standard there is between men and women and how we behave in society. And just know, when you put that type of stuff out there, yes, you are entitled to your opinion. You're entitled to judge. But just know that I see it, and I'm judging you back, and so is everybody else. So with that, you all have a fabulous day. Continue. Okay, so I've finally been able to.
And he ends it by saying, have a fabulous day. That's a pleasantry for F you. Have a fabulous day, you friend. You big friend. All right, that's it. Listen, Riley, listen, he's a smart guy. He's a lawyer. This guy, he knows how to look at hypocrisies. That's what it's all about, right? Just looking at hypocrisies, going, okay, all right. You know, just like the hypocrisy of going, my body, my choice. I choose what vaccine. If I don't want, my body, my choice. And then the second they go by, like, pro-life. Now listen. Oh, Riley. Lorena says he is Bachelor material. Getting cozy with Aaron. Riley is a good one. Absolutely. Riley defends Maurissa and calls out the double standard between men and women. What a respectful way to shut down negativity. Now, I'm not blaming men or women. One might argue that slut shaming happens more as a woman-on-women crime. And I'm not saying it doesn't happen by men's, but we're all guilty of it. We're all guilty. I mean, even to this day, I feel fairly evolved, but also at the same time, you might hear some jarring information about someone. You go, whoa, and then you gotta reel it back in. And you gotta go, okay. Why am I thinking that way? We have so many ingrained biases in our life that it's like, look, I'm not shaming anybody for thinking that way. And Riley did a really good job of calling out the hypocrisies, but not being like, you know what? You know what I mean? He just did a good job of going, oh, I see it and I'm judging it. And I think that's great. So I found this article here. And again, I'm hoping to talk with the Instagram page Purity With Me. It's they talk about purity culture in the world. And again, purity culture, not exactly, saying that religion is bad, but just saying that religion can lead to bad practices that will shame us in different ways, one of which being slut shaming. There's no such thing as a slut, says The Atlantic. A new longitudinal study examined how college students slut shame and found that the practice is as illogical as it is damaging. This is a very interesting article I just stumbled upon, and it's very old. So, for Becca to be like, are we really doing this in 2021? Well, we've been talking about it since 2004. This article was from 2014, so the article is not as old. In 2004, two women were long past college age, settled into a dorm room at a large public university in the Midwest. So essentially, they were doing a sociology experiment in a dorm room for 5 years. And they weren't even trying to study slut shaming, and that kind of fell upon them. The researchers interviewed 53 women on their floor every year for 5 years, from the time they were freshmen through their first year out of college. Their findings about the students' academic success later formed the basis for Paying for the Party, their recent book about how the college experience bolsters inequality. They found that the women's trajectories were shaped out not only by income, but also by how much debt they carried, how much financial assistance they could expect from their parents, their social networks, and their financial prospects. But in the process, they began to notice that the women's attitudes about sex were also influenced by their families' incomes. On top of asking the students about GPAs and friend groups, the researchers also dug into their beliefs about morality, sometimes through direct questions, but often simply by being present for a late-night squabble or a bashful confession. We were there on the floor when these dramas would emerge about slut bashing. We saw working class girls walk out of their dorms to visit boys, and the privileged girls would say, "Why are you wearing that?" As Armstrong and Hamilton write in their new study published in Social Psychology Quarterly, that's my favorite magazine, I read Us Weekly and Social Psychology Quarterly. Economic inequality drove many of the differences in the ways the women talked about appropriate sexual behavior. All but 5 or 6 of the women practiced slut shaming or denigrating the other women for their loose sexual mores. But they conflated their accusations of sluttiness with other unrelated personality traits like meanness or unattractiveness. It seemed there was no better way to smear a doormate than to suggest she was sexually impure. If you want to make a young woman feel bad, pulling out the term slut is a surefire way to do it. She isn't one of us. We don't like her, and she's different. That makes sense. Ostracizing someone is the most powerful thing you can do, and that's what kind of cancel culture does. So calling someone a slut cancels them in a way from whatever moral superiority you have. And that's kind of also one of the problems with purity culture is that it says, I'm better than you, and you fail these moral sort of benchmarks that I kind of sit atop. I don't know if that makes sense. Because most of the slut shaming occurred in private, women were both targets and producers of it. It was rare for the term slut to stick to any one woman. Instead, the other women were simply foils for each other's supposed sexual virtue. One woman described her best friend like so. She just keeps going over there because she wants his attention, because she likes him. That's disgusting. That's, to me, if you want to talk about slutty, that to me is whoring yourself out. Yikes! I think when people have sex with a lot of guys that aren't their boyfriends, that's really a slut. For analysis, Armstrong divided the cohort in two, with wealthier women in one group and the working class ones in the other. Each group tended to band together, with the poorer half feeling excluded from Greek life and other high-status social activities. Several of the low-income students, for example, balked at the cost of the $50 Rush t-shirt. The rich women tended to view casual sex as problematic only when it was done outside of steady relationships, and even then, only when it included vaginal intercourse. Meanwhile, frequent hooking up, which to them included kissing and oral, did not a slut make. I think when people have sex with a lot of guys that aren't their boyfriend, that's really a slut. The poorer women, by contrast, were unaware that hooking up in the parlance of the rich women excluded vaginal intercourse. They also tended to think all sex and hookups should occur primarily within a relationship. The two classes of women also defined sluttiness differently, but neither definition had much to do with sexual behavior. The rich ones saw it as a trashiness or anything that implied an inability to dress and behave like an upper middle class person. One woman, for example, noted that it was acceptable for women to have a short skirt on if they're being cool. But if they're dancing really gross with a short skirt on, then slut. The poorer women, meanwhile, would regard the richer ones as slutty for their seemingly rudeness and proclivity for traveling in tight-knit herds. As one woman said, sorority girls are kind of whorish and unfriendly and very cliquey. So it goes on and on and on, and we can see the hierarchy that exists where words, we use words to try to control others, even if we're not in a position of control. By taking a position of moral superiority, we think we're doing better than someone else. Oh, that person only got everything they have because their parents were rich. It might be true, but it doesn't make my situation any better. So the idea that we're not staying in our own lane. So, with the person saying that, oh, Maurissa, their relationship's not going to last, maybe they truly believe that you need to make someone work hard for it. But making someone work hard for it doesn't always have to be with regards to the transaction of I give you my sex. And I understand men with a penis, enter a woman, and there's this transaction where the woman is the chooser and the guy is the there to spread his oats, as you will. Carbo load, okay, folks. Protein load, maybe. Oh, right, here we go. But the deal is it's complex, and to put that onto someone else, even if that's how you feel, that's the shame, right? Feel what you feel, but to put that on someone else, it's like, why? We don't need that bandwidth. Teen Vogue, surprisingly, I believe they won a Pulitzer. I'm not even kidding. They've actually kind of been known for the progressive work with some of their articles that they've got coming out here. And this is 5 years old, but it's still interesting. 6 ways you may be slut shaming without realizing it. It may be inadvertent, but it's still harmful. So let's just jump right into this. We'll get into the 6 ways. Blaming the girl if someone spreads a stolen nude photo of her. She's been displayed in this situation. She has been wronged. Yes, it is foolish to trust someone else with a naked photo of oneself, but her motivation in sending it was to please the recipient. She was doing something for him, and he repaid her by destroying her life. All right, that's a great example. Mocking someone else's sexual practices because to you, they're weird. All right, so that's, I guess in today's world, we call that kink shaming. Assuming a girl is only dressing up to impress guys. Think about it. We put clothes on our bodies to protect ourselves from things like weather and nasty park benches, but we also use clothes to express our personal aesthetic. If someone thinks the only reason for a girl to dress up is for the enjoyment of guys, that person is basically saying that the primary function for female bodies is to be pleasing to men. that our self-expression only matters if it matters to men. Very well said. Talking differently about girls who have sex than you do about guys who have sex. All right, this is the Riley one, right? So we're talking that in the instance that people are judging Maurissa for going to the boom boom room and not Riley. You know you can do anything a boy can do, right? I can do anything you can do. I can do it better. I was told this from a young age by my parents, teachers' books, and children's movies. At least where I lived, people seem to have agreed to teach children that girls and boys should have the same educational, athletic, and leadership opportunities. I could do anything a boy could do until I hit puberty. Then, suddenly, for the first time, there were limits on what I could do. I couldn't wear certain clothes anymore because now I had cleavage. I wasn't allowed to dance by myself in the middle of a dance floor. And it was only because I was a girl. Is that a rule? I wouldn't be surprised. If girls can do everything boys can do, then women can do everything men can do. And sex is no different. You know, but that brings up the whole idea where at school they make girls cover up because the boys won't be able to concentrate. Listen, the boys aren't going to be able to concentrate anyway. Okay, let me tell you. You could be wearing a turtleneck and snow pants and mittens, and the guys are gonna be like, look at those mittens, the crease between the thumb and the rest of the mitten. That whole lobster paw really makes me. All right, boners, tuck them in. Describing another. What are we doing? Describing another woman or you're tuck in the boner. You got to tuck it up. Don't tuck it down. What are you doing? You tuck it down, you're just going to make that boner more vibrating. All right. Don't let your phone go off. Describing another woman or yourself as being like a guy when it comes, I'm literally crying. Oh my gosh. Oh, the days of a misplaced boner during math class. Please don't make me answer the question in the dry erase board. Please don't make me go up there. You know what? I'm just going to take this one from my seat. Thank you. I didn't know it was skirt day out there. Describing another woman, and not that there's anything wrong with skirts. Yes, I know. I just wrote that we need to talk about girls who have sex the same way we talk about guys who have sex. But if you like to have casual sex, the implication of being like a guy, that just means you're a woman who likes to have casual sex. Why should liking sex be something that's inherently for guys? Men don't get to have ownership over the act of liking sex. Sorry. And the truth is, there may be cases where everybody's different. Some people dump more oxytocin than others. Some people might get more committed when they have sex. Sometimes sex starts as just casual and then you catch a feeling for somebody else, which is okay too. That's okay too. But if someone just is in the place of their mind, in their mind where they want sex to be transactional and it's the type of conversation you have open with somebody else, so be it. You know, if you're deceiving someone and you're not, selling them a false bill of goods, that's a different story. Not speaking up for each other. That guy who slut shames girls for hooking up on the first date is the same guy trying to get girls to do it. If we don't speak up for other girls and women, that guy will think that slut shaming is okay. Speaking up means you risk being turned against either as a slut or an angry feminist, but you also might get a productive conversation out of it. Our silence is often taken as agreement, so we need to break that silence. At the very least, that guy won't be able to keep believing that everyone feels the way he does. When we start noticing and paying attention to these subtle forms of slut shaming, we can decide to change our behavior. Once we do that, we'll be able to model this rejection of slut shaming for the people in our lives, from our parents to our friends. They'll begin to model it for the people in their lives and so on. That's how change happens, and we're all part of it. Change happens by making YouTube videos about things like this. It's very fascinating, folks. It is. It's very interesting. It's a conversation where I think most people are on the right side of this, knowing what shame is, but at the same time, we still do it in our own daily lives. So it's important to just catch ourselves and say, bad Dave, and just realize that we are just byproducts of a lot of imprints that have been put on us from an early age, and it's very hard to shake that. To all the ladies out there that put on a purity ring in 8th grade and vowed to never have sex till they were married and maybe ended up slipping up in high school or college or before you wed in your 20s or 30s or whenever, just know you can release yourself from that burden of guilt. It's not easy. It might require meditating and a spiritual, belief that you can evolve to another level, whatever the case may be. And listen, you can still be religious. You can still support your God and everything that goes with it, but you can cut those shaming beliefs off at the head, and you can teach your kids and everyone moving forward that they don't need that in their life, because it does nobody any good to make them feel guilty for just being their authentic self, okay? All right, folks, let me know what you guys think. We got a live stream at 4 p.m. We'll talk to you later. Bye now.